It's time for the Pat and Patti Show, starring Patti Smith and Pat Hughes. Okay, and hey, welcome to the Pat and Patti Show. We've got a little leader on this, and we've been off a couple of weeks. How come was that?
Well, partly it was because we had a planning session for a fabulous project we have in mind that is still under wraps a little bit. So we worked on that one week, and then there was a vacay involved, little out-of-town trip.
It's summertime, folks.
Yes, it is.
Summertime, and the living is easy.
But not at the end of the runway.
Okay, well, first thing out, actually we did a little thing today. National Journal had this thing about the brains of people and how we're all
wired differently.
Yeah, we're wired differently based on political party and stuff like that. And it also suggested some ways to get beyond that. But we did a test to see whether we were these radicals, rebels, or the bastions of the status quo, or whether we were just plain moderates. And guess who was in the middle? Yes, I was.
He's a moderate.
She was right beside me.
Yes, and guess where I was?
Miss Flamin' Liberal.
Woo! Actually, she's a rebel.
I'm a rebel.
Ha!
I would have never imagined.
I know. Well, I can tell you for sure and certain that the proudest moment of my life was back around 2000, the year 2000. And I was at a protest, my very first protest ever that I had ever been to. I made my own sign. I went out to protest. And I was quoted in the Sun Sentinel, the newspaper down in Fort Lauderdale. I was quoted, and it said, "Patti Smith, local activist." Ooh, that was a proud day for me.
Yeah, you are. I've always been in awe of your ability to channel anger.
I know.
I mean, that's something. In all honesty, I tend to be.
I am an actor, Pat.
I tend to be somebody who's trying to keep it together, and,
right.
and because I recognize.
Go with the status quo.
No, not to go with the status quo. We need change. We need change desperately, but we got to keep. It's got to be a progression. It's got to be easy. It can't be this radical thing, because when you have radical change, you heads roll, and you just ask those folks in the French Revolution or any of the revolutions. I mean, you have horrible ramifications when you start tearing things down and throwing them out and the whole bit.
Right. Well, but if you don't stand up to madness in government, then you're just as bad.
Well, no,
you're guilty. You're just as guilty as they are.
But the problem is, you have to be careful, because what happens as an organic movement a lot of times becomes co-opted.
Like our Stop the
French Revolution. Most revolutions are co-opted, or they were never a people's movement to begin with. They are always funded by outside sources with an agenda of taking over.
And the same thing happened here. Me and you and Bob and Mary Board started a Stop the Airport movement, and it was co-opted and taken over by the blue shirt crowd for their own conservative political agenda.
That's true. That is actually an excellent example of how things get co-opted, changed, and the change that you hope for is not even on the horizon.
Yeah, I know.
It usually ends up in totalitarianism.
Yes.
It ends up being worse than it was to begin with, and that's the reason that I tend to say, let's take it easy. Let's not blow it up.
Well, but that's why I'm still standing up and saying there's something wrong with those people too. I mean, you've got to keep some people informed on what you can see. If you can see it right in front of you and you don't talk about it, then you're doing the wrong thing.
That's right.
And
we're going to be hearing more from you in the future, Patty, in the very near future.
I'm sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, we also want to hear more from other people. And I've got a little piece that I want to talk about. And that is, I've got a thing, I'm going to put it up here on the screen. It's called PCOM 2, PCOM 2. And that is a Skype name. And I just in testing it, it didn't work perfectly, but I had a fella domestic violence by proxy, who is, y'all, if you're on Paulding.com, you know that he is not exactly the greatest supporter of the judicial system, especially when it comes to family court. And anyway, they had a thing down in Atlanta at the Judicial Qualifying Council protest, and I interviewed a cohort of his and whatever, and we're going to put just a little bit of that in that came to us via Skype. But I mentioned the Pecan too. Now, I will say this, you've played with it,
Yes.
and you've played with it, and this
Skype.
actually works, and we can ingest material, and we want
and put it out on people.
Yeah,
And it's great for real-time news. So
Yes.
if you're somewhere and you see something, instead of getting on PCOM and texting about it, you can just turn your smartphone on the camera and or
Call us.
Yes, and
video
Skype with
yeah.
Pat. It gets recorded, and then it gets put on PCOM for all your neighbors to see.
And what I've also, and what have I promised you and you in terms of basically $100 worth of trade for lady prettiness.
Oh yes, I believe you mentioned a spa day.
Yeah, exactly.
They got my attention.
and that's you know, if we get this going a little bit, we'll be passing around some of those, because I've got a good 20 $100 spas to kind of pass around. So
if you want a spa day, if you want to get involved, learn more about this, load Skype on your phone.
And there'll be more information about a contest?
We'll do some more information about a contest.
And if you don't know how to do Skype, if you don't know how to get it on your phone or use it, we can help you with that. So let us know if you're interested. We'll help you set it up, teach you how.
I can guarantee you the first winner will be the guy that goes up and talks to somebody that can get us an answer about a fellow with the initials DD, which is different than DD. It has to do with that letter that you got very early on.
Yes.
We've got star potential right here in Paulding County. I think it almost proves the Delta connection, if you will.
And he thinks everything proves the Delta connection.
Well, tell him what it's about, because it's your story.
This was right after the airport news broke in October of 2013. Right after that broke, I still have the pauldingairport.us website, and through that website came an email to me. And it was about from a man named Danny Diaz, and he is a lobbyist, political lobbyist, GOP, ultra conservative kind of a guy.
No, I wouldn't say he's ultra.
Well, most of his clients I found in the list that I saw seemed very, very conservative to me. Anyway, Danny Diaz sent me this email, and it said there's going to be a court case. And if you're interested, if you want to, get involved in this, then, you can do that.
And that was fighting the bonds.
And that was fighting the bonds. That was the very first lawsuit that ever came about. And we had just started the Stop the Airport organization at that time.
Get to the big part. If you would.
I am. Okay. Well, so we started it, and so, as it turns out, Danny Diaz is now, he's changed jobs, though he is still one of the owners, I think, of FP1 Strategies. Yes, but now he has a new position as the campaign manager for Jeb Bush. Yay!
Oh. No, that is really kind of interesting aspect of this whole deal. We've got
I nearly fell out of bed the other morning when I heard it on the news that he was now, because I knew exactly who he was. I knew immediately. I remembered that email.
And I did some research on it, and this is what caused me to say there might be a Delta connection, or he may be the Delta connection, is because they've got a variety of clients, primarily political and whatever. Jeb Bush, by the way, not being the most conservative of the conservatives, he's more the mainstream guy of the Republicans, and trying to pitch
Neocon Alley.
Yeah, I know. But he also mentioned a nondescript transportation clients. Now, who in transportation would be interested in the Paulding Airport?
Greyhound?
You are as much as denial as some of those other folks that wear blue shirts just like you. Is this
I didn't realize I had a blue shirt on.
But you're
Oh.
taking your talking points from David.
Yeah, that's right.
well, no,
David Austin's right-hand man.
well, no, you're the one.
I don't like any of them.
Common sense would dictate that you can narrow down who's paying for this to a couple of folks.
And then y'all both vote for Delta, I know. But this is the thing about it. The David Osmond's
No, I
always
don't think
yammering
it's
on.
Delta. I think it's somebody else.
They were always yammering on about Delta, about the people that hate this airport. They're all from Delta. Well, I'm not from freaking Delta. I am just a sick old woman at the east end of the runway who's pissed off. But I'm not Delta. But that always made me angry. They acted like I was. Like I was getting big money to run my website
No,
from Delta.
it's kind of like we think that Delta is behind this because they're very upset that somebody besides them is going to have control over this airport, and they so desperately want to control. And what we're in is in a fight for control of this airport as a commercial entity because that is inevitable. That's our belief.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable.
I know that's what y'all
It's
think.
about a control issue. Who's going to control it?
It could be. It's bad for me no matter who controls it.
That's not necessarily so because I mean, what we just saw property out there for sale. I guess it was maybe Christy Solomon's. I don't know.
No, I don't think
97 acres. You claimed it initially. We started to look for it. It being the county's property.
They do own it. It's the Seymour house that they eminent domained and bought out from the Seymours, and there's some extra property next to it that they've conglomerated together and they're trying to sell it.
Why did the survey have?
Well, I don't know, Pat. Maybe you didn't find the right property.
Well, that was the one that I saw the other day.
It was 97 acres, 1.7 million.
I will do a little more research on it before our next show so that we can talk more intelligently about it.
Well, I do hope that Christy, if it is Christy's, that she can get that for
I
her.
wish
And
she
then-
could,
Yeah, that was really the amazing thing. In fact, I want to show it right here on the background. They had a chart of property values in that area. In 2009, when the airport was announced, when the airport opened, the property values went like this.
I know. Well, because what
they've been up
What happened
ever
is
since.
a lot of people who don't know their rear end from a hole in the ground. As soon as the airport opened, they thought, "Oh, now my property's going to be worth
I'm
lots
gonna
and
be
lots,
rich.
And if you looked at that time, there was like a lot of property up on 278, all around the
I
airport,
know.
on the market for 1.75 million, 1.5 million, and I was like, wow, this could be great. But then Todd tells my neighbor that my property, which used to be worth $350,000, is now worth maybe, if I'm lucky, 50. So it's kind of hard to count on this. Also, those properties that went on the market for 1.75 million, right when the airport
still
opened,
sitting there.
they're not on the market anymore. They're just sitting there. They never sold because who the hell's going to spend that kind of money out here until it's really time for Delta to take over, or ever who's taking over.
it's like proven track record.
But the problem is that yes, some people may do well. But it's kind of a crapshoot. Some people are going to get hurt bad and end up with nothing, and that's not the way government's supposed to treat citizens.
Well, it may be that the reason that they're not selling and all that sort of stuff is because right now the future is so foggy because nobody knows who's going to be calling the shots.
Right.
Because, it might be Delta, or it might be Propeller, it might be the FAA,
right now it's
or
Blake.
maybe it'll be Todd because Todd's so
Right now it's Blake Swafford, and I know that's not a good deal.
Do you really believe that
what?
Blake Swafford is calling the shots?
Well, he's the airport director. If you read the zoning overlay, 70 pages worth of code.
Bureaucrat, for
Yes,
God's
but
sake.
he is the god of the airport.
Now,
if you
wait a
read the
minute,
law, of course, who cares about
whoa.
that?
Now, there's another topic here that we haven't talked about at all, and that is that on Tuesday, you're going to go talk about oligarchs.
I'm excited.
And what is an oligarch? Is Blake an oligarch?
Well,
No, by definition, he's not an oligarch.
he's a dictator at the
He
airport.
is a hired hand. He is a hired hand at
if
best.
you care to read the freaking law, Pat, it says he's pretty much dictator of the airport. What it says, if I want to put up a bird feeder in my yard, I have to talk to the airport manager, and he makes all decisions regarding what I can do with my property. If you care to read the law, Pat, but I know that, you can't be bothered by that kind of stuff.
Well, no. What I also know is that anytime they try to exert such a thing, you do have recourse in the courts. Of course, that'll take you $500,000
Well,
to.
yeah. What was it they said in court that if you wanted to sue Paulding County, you better have $500,000 in the bank if you wanted to keep your house?
Well, no, we know that that's not going to work particularly well either.
Yeah.
But I got somebody. Well, I tell you what. Let's take a real quick break for something that we'll just put up and whatever.
Ooh,
and so,
video?
Yeah, we'll put up a video of some sort. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but we're going to.
Interesting.
All right, what is it?
Sort of a crapshoot.
Blowing smoke. I was posted on Paulding.com about a lady in Washington State. Everybody's heard about her. The lady that's the head of the state's NAA, was the head of the state's NAACP, and whose parents called her on her job because she was white. I came up with a variety of reasons in the post saying why she was doing what she was doing, from research for a thesis to a plan to write a novel to, just things that maybe made some sense. I don't know. But members said, oh, no, that's nothing but excuses. Well, not really. I was just trying to give others the opportunity to open their mind a little bit. Think about it some and realize that, hey, you don't really have to care. In fact, I thought it was kind of cool that she could pull it off, and she'd been able to get away with it for a couple of years. And if you really think about it, if nobody had cared, we would be one step closer to a raceless society, because if no one cared, no one would have cared. But no, folks, I gotta say, it's important that you can't be a Caucasian leading the state's National Association of Advancement of Colored People chapter, regardless of the person's education, qualifications, or attitudes. That's, what that says? That says we gotta keep people in their place. Now you understand now why, if we had all kind of had the who cares attitude, that would have been progress? I think it would have been. I think that it was kind of like the progress that was in that Oscar-winning play or movie that Gregory Peck played in back in 1947. He played Mr. Greenberg in the movie Gentleman's Agreement. Indeed, this is a little bit like that in a modern sense. I mean, this is kabuki theater. We don't necessarily make movies, although I'm sure we'll have a movie made of this one of these days. But, this is great kabuki theater. It's a great way to teach folks. But we miss the opportunity. I mean, there are a gazillion reasons this lady could have done what she did, and none of them really are any of our business. The business of the board of the NAACP in Washington State. They didn't fire her. They didn't care. Why should we care? Certainly not one hair off my balding pate. I'm G. Patton Hughes for the County of Constant Conflict, from the County of Constant Conflict, Paulding County, Georgia. Thank you for listening. Okay.
That's what I need.
What I showed y'all was a little bit of the, what's her name, Doziel, the lady that was...
the imaginary black woman in Spokane,
yes,
Washington.
yes.
Rachel is her name?
Rachel, yes.
Yes.
What did you think of all that?
Well, I thought that, just like Caitlyn Jenner was born Bruce and felt that he was always a woman, maybe this woman always kind of felt black. My mother certainly said that she thought I had been black in a former life or something because of the way I like to dress and the loud colors.
I had a friend
the big hats.
in high school, and when she got into college, blonde hair, blue-eyed, and she that's who she wanted to date. She wanted to date people of other races. She was not interested in dating white men, and it was just for some reason she had that attraction, or she identified with them. So I guess, to each their own.
Exactly.
But I think that in that case there was a little bit of deception there.
Well, it was kind of odd, I thought. I mean,
yes.
she should have just said, I mean, because you can work for the NAACP and be a white woman.
Right.
And she does have black children, and she does have black siblings that were adopted. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe she was the only white child they had, and then her parents from my understanding of the situation, adopted 4 black children. So maybe she felt like to be loved, she might need to be black. And maybe she wasn't enough as their white daughter. I don't know what was going on in the woman's mind. But it seems to me that if she feels black, then she should be allowed to look black if she wants to. But one thing I will say about her, and with what's going on lately about the shootings in the church in South Carolina, I mean, they keep saying, they always make it sound like when a black person murders a bunch of people with a gun, they're thugs, they're terrorists, they're monsters. But if a white guy goes into a black church with a gun and kills them, he was just misunderstood. He just had some psychological problems, but he didn't mean it. But I'm telling you what, it is terror, if you ask me. If I was a pretend black woman, I would at this moment feel terrorized by white society.
This is the blacks have been terrorized by whites of this class and attitude in the South for for as long as they've been in the South, for God's sake.
Well, I would say it was ever since the Middle Passage, when the ships came from Africa and they dumped off their cargo here and sold them on the shore. I would say that black people have pretty much been terrorized ever since then.
Absolutely, and this was an act of terror as much as anything.
Yes, I mean, the monster sat there next to these people for an hour, pretending to pray with them.
Actually, he was having a fight within his soul.
I think he was picking out who to shoot first.
No, I think that he was actually, coming to grips with doing it. Actually, he told police he was.
Well, what he said while he was reloading, when the people were begging him to stop shooting.
Once he made the commitment to go ballistic, he went ballistic, and he did it like a good white guy.
Yeah, I believe he said I've got to kill you people because you rape our women. And I've been raped. Never was it a black guy. It was always white guys that did it. But he said, you rape our women and we've got to take our country back from you. This is so Sarah Palin. Take our country back from you. I think we need to take our country back from crazy people who want to shoot people for fun. It's insane.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But it is very much terrorism.
Yes, it is.
And he was a terrorist. And people need to recognize that the far right in the United States is a terrorist organization. The KKK was terrorist.
Yes.
All this is,
But yet they don't see themselves that way because they're good Christians. But
they're just trying to take their country back.
I know.
From us evil.
The KKK was good Christians too, weren't they?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that's what they thought anyway. I think when they met their maker, they found out how very wrong they were. I'm just sorry I wasn't there to see that.
Well, I'm sure that some of them were left hanging around.
Well, you mean like the black people they lynched?
Yes.
Left hanging around?
Yes. Well, actually, there were some states that did that, and of course, they got a shock.
I'm sorry I wasn't there to help shock them along.
Yeah, well, you know how that goes. But you're speaking.
Yes, I am speaking next Tuesday at the Board of Commissioners meeting. It should be very exciting.
Okay.
And you get to be broadcast on the Comcast TV.
To all of Paulding County, all across the great plains and hills and ups and downs of Paulding County. It's very exciting. Everyone will be able to hear my liberal thoughts, my liberal mantra.
Do you think there really are oligarchs in Paulding County?
Well, there are people who have money and think they rule and think they're better than the rest of us. And I got news, baby. They ain't.
Okay, with that, we're going to say goodbye, I think, unless somebody's got something else to say.
Well,
We were going to talk about the airport.
I thought we were too.
show.
Why is it that Pat never wants us to talk about how bad the airport is? I don't know.
No, let's just talk about the air show.
Yes.
But it's been over a month,
Oh,
and we
yeah.
still have not heard any of the details as far as attendance, if
Right.
it was profit
I know.
or a loss.
I know.
So
I'm
what
betting
is
on
that?
Well,
loss.
I think it maybe has something to do with the fact that it's now run by independent private entity that has the right to not say.
And therein lies the problem with public-private partnerships. We have a
Bingo!
right to know what the hell is going on at a county-owned piece of property with our tax dollars. Because if this thing lost like a couple $100,000, maybe let's just say it lost $150,000.
I just wish you were so
That's
excited
$1
about finding out what the NSA wants to know about you.
That's $1 per person.
$1 per person.
in this county that they're going
Every
to
man-
have to hand
Every man,
over
woman, and child. Yes.
to who? To who? The Canadians that flew in? I mean,
The Royal Canadian Air Force? Is that who's
well,
going to get
we
our
got to
tax
promote
dollars?
ourselves to them too. That's it's only money, for God's sakes.
Jesse, might as well just take your money and throw it in the toilet if you let the Paulding Airport Authority spend it for
well,
you.
here's the thing. I remember talking to the gentleman who did one of the Rome air shows, and he said that one year he lost over $100,000. So there's big money that can be lost
Well-
at these things if your attendance and sponsorship levels are not what you were expecting.
And it wasn't. Now, they haven't made the report yet, but I was told by somebody who was there and saw it that Blake was questioned about attendance and why we haven't heard yet what happened with the airport attendance. And Blake, when he was cornered about, how much shut up, about how much they made or lost or what happened, he was like, well, shuffling his feet, looking down at the ground, like, well, we overestimated the attendance. I think you could say that.
Overestimated the attendance?
They thought 35,000 were going to come, and from what
That would be underestimating the attendance.
no, well, they overestimated what they thought would come. Maybe 2,000 people
They
came.
underestimated what they thought would come.
No,
If
they
Disney World-
overestimated
If
it.
Disney World is empty on Mother's Day, everybody says that is the best day to go
Because it's empty.
because it's empty. If Disney World is empty, why do they think that everybody in the world would be coming to the air show? I mean, they were thinking that more people would come to this one than they have had in
Ever.
the past,
Yes.
and this wasn't like a big holiday weekend.
Could it be because they're dumb as a stump and fighting proud of it? I don't know. I do know this, though. That the F-18s that came, when the F-18 came a couple of years ago, there was only one F-18, and I was told that it cost us $50,000 to have that F-18.
Who told you that?
The people who keep up with that information, and
Who is? Well,
I will.
cite your source.
I will not
I mean,
cite my source.
$50,000 is pretty expensive. I understand it's a couple of
I
days of a
believe
jet,
that they
and
did
are not
a
cheap.
Freedom of Information request about it, and that's where they got the information. Of course, the county could have lied to them. Who knows?
Well, no, I think that's realistic. I mean, because some of those acts are, 10, 15,
Yes.
20,000.
And this
there's multiple
F-18,
planes.
yeah.
If you're having to pay for
Yes.
gas
And
now.
it's a long way from
and
Canada.
hotels and stuff
Right.
like that. I can see.
And now, so $50,000 for one F-18. This show they had 5 F-18s. Do you think it cost $250,000 for that
No,
one
I
act?
think there's some economies of scale.
Maybe only $200,000 for that one act.
150 or something.
Well, I think
don't know.
probably it had because it had to do with the Royal Canadian Air Force, that it may have been somewhat subsidized by the government of Canada, if nothing else.
Really? You
Yeah.
think the government of Canada is going to pay for a group of their jets to come down to ignorant Redneckville and fly around?
I wonder
I don't think
how
so.
the Canadian citizens feel about their taxes
Yes.
being spent for Americans to do ooh and ah at their lose.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we were talking about this beforehand, we were talking about how everybody had the opportunity to look up in the sky and
Yes.
see airplanes during the
Yes.
air show. And considering it was, what, $25 or so to get in?
So the least I can do is what? Pay $1 per person. Everybody in Paulding County, we have the privilege of probably paying $1 a person to subsidize
Yes.
this loss.
It's always nice to know that my tax dollars are being used to make my life a living hell at the
And-
end of the runway.
I know, but see,
Yay.
you're way too focused on this when you need to be focused on things like net neutrality or NSA.
I am focused on those things, Pat. But
Well-
this show, you said you wanted to keep local issues. Local
Well-
issues. The airport is local.
I know, but
Net neutrality is worldwide.
If you will, probably we spend in Afghanistan even today in 10 seconds or 5 seconds, maybe even 1 second, the amount of money that we're talking about here.
Well, it is true, Pat, that we could go on forever about the stupid ways that our tax dollars are spent.
Let's see, what, hundreds of thousands of dollars to study STD rates of prostitutes in China? How does that affect me at all? It doesn't. Same thing with
Might affect
hundreds of
Pat.
thousands of dollars to study the flow of ketchup. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. I mean, people should be in an uproar over the amount of money that's being wasted.
I know. Well,
But here's
not
what
enough
it is.
for
I
it. It's not
suppose it's
necessary.
really not wasted because it's all about somebody in government looking out for them and theirs.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
right. What was it we were
Because I'm
saying
sure
earlier?
that one of theirs is making the money
Yes.
studying the flow of ketchup.
There is no justice in America. There's just us, and we matter, and you don't. That's what justice is in America. I got mine. Now I'm going to take yours. Screw you.
But you know what? I wish they would be honest about it.
And is that the last word for
I don't
the
know.
Patty part of the Pat and Patti show?
You got any more information you want to spread out there, Dina?
I suppose not. I don't think we can top that.
I know. Well, then we're done. Bye. Is that Nigel coming in to say goodbye? Nigel, get over here,
No,
Nigel.
we'll get him here.
Oh, there he is. Come here, buddy. There you go. There's our
Wave
little
goodbye.
man. Bye.
See you, Rita.